IEEE-USA has given me a competitive edge because of their support system. It is so much easier being out of your comfort zone when you have someone there saying, "You got this." IEEE-USA is more than just a network, it's a family.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aline McNall, and I'll be doing the Washington update for IEEE-USA's Washington, D.C. office this afternoon. I hope you all had a very pleasant Thanksgiving and were able to enjoy time away from work and relax with hopefully family and friends. Let's get started for today. As many of you are aware, Senate and House elections, as well as other U.S. elections, were held, and we now have more of the results than the previous legislative update, so I did want to go through some of those. We are confirmed that the Democrats will keep the Senate, so we have 48 Democrats that were elected, and then 2 independents who caucus with the Democrats, as well as 49 Republicans. The Warnock-Walker elections is actually still being counted, but because of the 48 Democrats who have been elected and who won their elections, Democrats will actually keep the Senate for the coming Congress. In the House, Republicans will control the House, so we have 213 Democrats and 220 Republicans. So this margin is very narrow. It is narrower than many in Washington did expect, and so in that sense, IEEE's will move forward with our legislative agenda, of course. Our legislative agenda is always nonpartisan, and we do work with any and all members of Congress, including all sides of the aisle. So moving forward, we certainly look forward to working with the newly elected members, as well as those who are staying on from their previous elections in the Senate. In terms of committee assignments and other big news in terms of leadership changes, those decisions are still being made and discussions within the parties are ongoing. So we look forward to, again, working with whomever is elected for the leadership positions, and then also within the committee structure, who will be chair of each of the committees that we do work with. So it looks like Congressman Lucas will lead the House Science Committee. The Democrat who will counter him in terms of the ranking member has not yet been decided. So we are looking forward to seeing who that will be. But then within that, the subcommittee chairs have not been decided. IEEE, of course, always works with the House Energy and Commerce Committee and the House and Senate Armed Services Committees, as well as the Judiciary Committees. And so those are the committees in general who are still deciding on leadership, particularly at the subcommittee level, and we look forward to following that pretty closely in the coming weeks and months. In defense news, we are, of course, following the Defense Authorization Act debates. So we're looking at the bill in the $700 billion range, of course, and we're certainly excited to see the numbers for the science and technology funding. So this is an increase of more than $3 billion for science and tech funding, as well as an increase in DARPA funding of over $1 billion. These increases will, of course, go to advanced microelectronics and other key technology areas, and we look forward to working with Congress to secure that funding, but also ensure that the appropriations funding for defense programs matches what is authorized as much as possible. Some things of note are the establishment of a commission on the National Defense Strategy to provide an independent review of national defense strategy for the U.S., as well as requiring a warfare strategy assessment. And then the cybersecurity provisions between the House and Senate are still, of course, being debated. So some of these things include automation and secure validation, vulnerability decision-making, as well as assessments on cybersecurity for small business. And IEEE looks forward to kind of working on these different provisions as they move forward, particularly in the area of cybersecurity, but also in other areas of S&T as it relates to national security. In space policy, IEEE-USA does congratulate all of those of you members who have been involved in the Artemis program for a successful launch. It was impressive to see that launch go through, and we certainly look forward to future launches for the Artemis program as the U.S. moves forward with that program. In terms of international space news, China launched astronauts to their newly completed space station. So the Shenzhou 15 mission launched in the Gobi Desert on Tuesday with 3 astronauts on board. And that mission is, of course, significant because the Tiangong outpost will now be continuously occupied like the ISS. And so we have 2 space stations in orbit. And as we look to the retirement of the ISS, it is important to note that the Chinese outpost is, of course, will be continuously occupied. Chinese space goals also include preparing to put astronauts on the moon, and so we've been following those discussions as well. And China's lunar lander is of course under development to do that. China is looking to partner with other nations, including particularly the developing world, to promote space technology development for their country and for the global community. So it's IEEE-USA, of course, does advocate for the U.S. programs, but it's always interesting to take a look at what other nations are doing. And so I wanted to take a moment to highlight the Chinese recent accomplishments in space. A quick update on the CHIPS Plus Science Act. The administration is looking to support the provisions that were put into law recently. Some of these include coordinating permitting for high-tech manufacturing. PCAST, or also known as the President's Council of Advisors for Science and Technology, has issued recommendations for the implementation of this CHIPS Act. Some of these recommendations include forming a national microelectronics training network for semiconductor workforce development across many academic institutions. They're also looking to foster innovation by reducing barriers to startup companies and enabling startup and researchers to more rapidly innovate through a chiplet platform, which is defined in the PCAST recommendations, a document that will be available on the White House website. Setting national semiconductor research agenda is also, of course, one of the recommendations from PCAST, and IEEE does look forward to working with the White House and the administration on the implementation portion of the CHIPS debates that are ongoing at the moment. A quick update on open access. Discussions are ongoing. Members of the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee, as I mentioned in a prior legislative update, are seeking answers to a few questions regarding the effects of the changes proposed by the administration on this issue. And Congress is, of course, echoing IEEE-USA's concerns with the proposed changes. And the debates are, like I said, ongoing, and we look forward to participating in discussions about open access to ensure that our journals can thrive in this new environment. So that concludes today's legislative update. Thank you so much for those of you who voted and participated in the last election. We're certainly looking forward, as I mentioned in the start of the update, to working with the new Congress in 2023. Our next legislative update will be December 15th, 2022, and I look forward to your questions. Since this one has been pre-recorded, I've left my email, which is a.mcnall@ieee.org, and feel free to email with any questions or comments you might have from today's legislative update. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.